Hey guys, Zach here from Kubota Lynchburg. Today I'm going to take you through a brief orientation on a Kubota L Series. So if you just got a new tractor, you just got a new Kubota L Series, whether it's the L2501, 33 or 39 horsepower versions of those, even maybe the 4701, although there'll be some small differences on that one, and maybe you didn't get a good orientation from your dealership, or you picked up a package deal, or you weren't able to be home when it got delivered. Today I'm going to walk you through a very basic, from the rear to the front, some of the things you need to know, some of the talking points, little tips and tricks that we're going to go through. So I like starting on the back of a tractor, the 3-point, because that's the main purpose of a tractor, is to use your 3-point and then your loader. So we're going to go through the 3-point hitch on it. So right now I've got an L3302 here, and again this will work for a 2501 or a 3901 or 3902 as well. But if we look at this tractor, we have a nice 3-point hitch. This right here is going to be called your top link. You have the little silver holder here. You can pop it out, and this top link will hook to the top piece of any implements that you have if you were able to get implements with the tractor. Now this will swivel in and out, so you can extend your top link or retract it to angle your implement a little bit better. Keep your top link greased if it has grease fittings like this one does, so that this spinning in and out process will be a lot simpler and easier. It will spin from both sides, so you can extend both sides of it. And it shouldn't spin all the way out. There should be a lock to it once it reaches its max length. And then you can keep it out of the way right there. We've got your lower link arms. These are where your lower 3-point hitch arms are going to hook to your rear implement, your box blade, your tiller, whatever it ends up being. And then you have your sway bars here. They're called a couple different things. I like calling them sway bars because it keeps it from swaying too far or too small. These are also adjustable, kind of like the top link, to where you have a little nut here that you can lock it into place if you wanted to, so it no longer spins. Or you can loosen that nut, and you can tighten or loosen these. And if you see, if I tighten it, it actually moves the arm out or in. What this does is it lets you choose how much sway your implement has. And then you can lock it into position and it won't sway anymore. For example, like a tiller, you want it locked pretty steady, maybe ½ an inch of play on it. Same thing with like a box blade or a grading scraper, but there are some implements out there that you want them to be able to move back and forth. So you can use your adjustments of these sway bars. Let's say you're trying to tilt your implement, or this side is a little higher or lower than it's supposed to be. You also have your adjustment here on your stabilizer arms, where this will spin in and out, and you will see my arm will go up or down. So let's say you got it from the dealership and this arm is sitting 3 inches higher. All you need to do is loosen this nut, make it till it's even, or tilt your implement however you want it tilted, tighten the nut back down, and this is just basically a keeper nut, and you just tighten it against it so it doesn't spin by itself, and you're good to go. Last two things on the 3-point is going to be your drawbar. This is an excellent point to pull implements and attachments from. You can hook like a D-ring here, throw a rope or a chain through it. You can pull trees, stumps, whatever you need to. You could put a 2-inch ball here and you could pull a trailer with it. This drawbar is a very handy pulling point. And then underneath this little hood is going to be your, and I don't know if I'll be able to get this off right now, but it's going to be your PTO shaft right underneath this. This is a cover that you can put on. You can keep it greased and it keeps the weather and the dirt and everything off of it. But your PTO shaft is here, 6-spine PTO to hook your implements into. So that's your basic 3-point. On the back of the L Series, this right here says oil. This is actually, you know, the back, this is your transmission. So this is going to be your hydraulic and your transmission oil here. So you would top it off. This isn't your checkpoint. This is where you would top it off through there. Grab your funnel, put your Kubota oil in there, and you'll be good to go on it. Each model is going to have a little bit different way to check your hydraulic oil levels, so we'll look at that as we're going. And we're going to go to the tires next. You might have different style tires. I always recommend fluid filling your tires. How to check to see if your tires are fluid filled is you basically will go to a valve stem. Now I'm going to show you these. This is a new tractor. It's not fluid filled yet. But you'll take off your valve stem cap, take a screwdriver, pocket knife, stone, whatever, and use it to indent, push here. You can hear the air coming out of it. If it was fluid filled on the rear tires, you would make sure that is positioned at least here or lower, and water would come out, and you would know that they were then fluid filled. So I recommend checking that. If your dealership told you they were fluid filled, check that out. Tires can be spaced in or out. Your dealership should have already done that. After the fact, after the fluid fill, not easy to do. So we're going to get into the operator station now, and we're going to kind of go through the controls and levers real quick. So I'm probably going to take control of the camera here. We'll go through our dashboard first. So you got your steering wheel. You've got your throttle handle right here. This is your main throttle to control your RPMs. I'll stick my key in the ignition. These tractors will have a glow plug. So when you see, when I first turn this on, try to get the light out of it. There, that little orange emblem right there, that's your glow plug. On this series, it should go out, as you saw it just do, once it's warm enough to turn on. You have your other lights on it. Realistically, the only other one that's important right now is the fact that it's showing you the parking brake is on. To take the parking brake off, you have your brake pedals. Again, each one's going to be a little different, but you have a double brake pedal. Push it. And you saw this lever right here move. This is how you lock in your parking brake. So parking brake on, parking brake off, hold down the brakes, lock it in. This is a gear drive tractor, so we have our foot throttle right here to raise and lower our RPMs manually. You know, this is going to be how you do it with your hand. This is foot control. You have your shifter knob, neutral in the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have your clutch over here. So on this side, with the clutch, you have both a forward and reverse. So this is what we kind of call a shuttle shift. It's not a true shuttle shift, but it's close enough to it. So you would clutch, you would choose forward or reverse. You would choose high or low range, depending on what work you were doing on it. You have a neutral in case you needed to pull or push it. And then you'd be able to let off the clutch and go. Your 3 buttons here are going to be, these 2 here are going to be your emissions controls. We recommend never touching them if at all possible. Basically, they're to cancel or pause or restart your emissions. Your owner's manual will tell you more details. But every 15 to 75 hours of use, your tractor, if it's a 33, if it's above a 25 horsepower, will go into a burn-off of your DEF. Well, not DEF, of your DPF, diesel particulate filter. And basically what that's doing is that's burning off all that extra on it. Let's say you're in a barn parked with a whole bunch of hay, straw, something along those lines, and you didn't want that to get extremely hot while you're in there in case of a fire. You could pause it or cancel it and then restart it later on. On this side, you have your controls for your 3-point. So this is going to raise and lower that 3-point hitch we talked about at the beginning. So you can raise it all the way up. You can actually use this little knob there. You could loosen it, pull it back, and set it at, let's say, 2. So every time you lower your implement, it's going to hit that knob, and you know it's going to be at the same height every single time you use it. This slot is if you were to put a rear hydraulic remote onto the tractor. So that's an option you can get from the factory. And the other thing we'll talk about here is your loader controls. So this is what we'll call a double acting valve on the Kubota series. It means we can raise and lower your loader simultaneously. I'm actually going to put it back in neutral and start the tractor real quick. So I can raise the bucket and curl it or tilt it simultaneously, which is nice. It's smooth. And the other thing I'll show you, bucket is basically using it, you'll get used to it. The other thing I'll show you is the float control. A lot of people don't know about float. If I push it up, that lowers it. But let's say I push it up even harder, it locks it in. I am now floating the loader, which basically what that means is it's taking all hydraulic up or down pressure off of it, and it's just using the weight of the loader to back drag. The only other thing I want to mention on the loader is you can lock the controls here. And so if you don't want to be able to use your loader, it'll lock the handle so you can't move it at your loader lock. That's a very basic on how to operate a gear drive tractor. A hydrostat is a little bit easier. I'll show that as well. All right, so I'm now sitting on a hydrostatic tractor. You can see it basically has the same brake pedals and parking brake system. It still even has a clutch for using your PTO on it. The basic difference is going to be over here, where you have a low, medium, and a high range. Low is best for loader work, medium is good for mowing and bush hogging and kind of medium duty work, and then high is basically for highway, getting from one side of the property to the next. This slot right here is if you wanted to add the optional cruise control kit. It'll have another lever that actually directly links to your hydrostat pedal so you can have cruise control. Now your hydrostat is very easy. Forward, reverse. Some people like to keep their foot on it and rock back and forth with the treadle pedal. I personally like to just keep my heel on the floor and then switch between for a little bit more precise movement, but to each their own. It's the same controls on the side for 3-point and rear remotes and raise and lower. This is an L2501, so there's none of that emission stuff on it. And that other button on the other tractor that had the P with the PTO switch, that was if you wanted to run the rear PTO while you're off the tractor seat. There's a certain sequence you have to do, flip the seat up, hit that switch, then you can start your PTO. So if you were running like a wood splitter or wood chipper, you could do it while not sitting on the tractor. So Hydrostat is easy. Put it in whatever range you want to, take off your parking brake, and you're good to go. And now we're going to go to the front of the tractor. So on the front of the tractor, it should have a quick attach bucket. If you pull these two levers, and I'm going to have you come on in here and look, when I pull these two levers, this is a universal quick attach, it's going to shift this pin right here. When I pull it, that pin is going to unlock the quick coupler from the bucket. And if I do that on both sides, I can literally back away from the bucket, and then you can pull into things like pallet forks or grapples. So that is a universal quick attach. You just pull both levers. Keep those well greased, because if you don't use it for a year and it gets seized up, it's going to be a pain in the butt to pull and push those levers. So there's grease fittings everywhere, and we'll go over that in a second too. On your front grill guard, if you want to stand in front of the tractor and look, there is a pull pin right here. This is going to let you release the guard, and you're going to pull that guard forward. It's easier to do if I'm standing in front where she is, but you pull that forward, and then there's a little ring on either side of the hood. On this one, it seems like it's on the right-hand side. Got to remember my directions. There's a little black ring here, and you're going to pull this, and on the L series, it has its own cylinder. Raise up and pick it up. And here you have your under-the-hood stuff. Now, everything forward, this section forward is your most important stuff. You have your battery to jump it. You've got your air cleaner here. You have a radiator screen that needs to be cleaned out. Every once in a while, if you start to overheat, you lose power, this is the first thing. Check it. If it's full of grass and debris and little seeds, brush it off, clean it off, put it back in, because that's going to control the airflow to your radiator, the overall cooling of your tractor. So you've got that screen you're going to want to clean out. You need to blow out your air filter every 30 to 50 hours or so. Or again, if you start overheating or losing power, we have seen air filters that are absolutely disgusting because people don't think about cleaning them out. Every once in a while, you're going to want to come over here. You're going to want to pop the little clamp off of it and pop that air filter out. And each air filter has its own little style of clamp, how to remove it, and a little way to lock or unlock. So on this one, you unlock it, you spin it, and there's your air filter. It should be nice and white and clean. If it's full of debris, dirt, dust, knock it out, brush it off, or replace it at that point, and then put it back in. So, and it's got to line up right, and I don't know how to do that. Well, we're going to leave that till later. The other thing under this hood is going to be on this side is going to be your coolant levels. So just check this every time you service it, check your coolant levels. You got to full and load, kind of like your car. You can also access the screen from this side to it. Anything from there back on the top side is going to be stuff realistically you're going to want to have covered under warranty. You're not going to mess with it very much. On these tractors, one of my number one rules is grease everything that has a grease point. So everywhere there's a pivot pin on this loader, there's going to be a grease point. What type of grease? Doesn't really matter on a tractor of this size. Keep it well greased every 10 to 15 hours. Get yourself a nice battery-powered grease gun and grease the crap out of that thing. More grease is better. It might look ugly, grease is better. Grease those points for your handles, grease your pivot pins. Grease here, it's an often missed one, on your steering cylinders and tie rod ends. And a lot of times right here where the axle will articulate, you do want to keep those greased as well, because that's where your axle is pivoting all the time. So hit those little seam grease points on either side of the axle. Grease up here, up underneath, keep it well greased. Other than that, that's your basics. That's how to keep your loader. Your other service points, you want to do a engine oil break-in on Kubotas at 50 hours. That is going to be changing your engine oil filter, all your engine oil, and your hydraulic filters. You don't have to change your hydraulic fluid. You don't have to change your air filter or your fuel filter at that time, but engine oil, hydraulic oil filter, and all the engine oil filter itself. Do that at 50 hours. After that, you can get by until 200 hours, and then basically every 150 to 200 hours after that is when you're going to service and maintain it. So the only other thing I can think of mentioning is this roll bar will fold down. So if you have a garage or a shed or a low-hanging limb you have to get underneath, sometimes an adjustable wrench is easier. Sometimes you can use a screwdriver. You can loosen these bolts here, and you can actually fold, once you take these bolts out, you can fold that roll bar down. If you have the roll bar up, always wear your seatbelt. If you have the roll bar folded down, do not wear your seatbelt so you can jump out, because if it rolls, you need to be able to jump away from the tractor. So that's your basic orientation on the L series. Again, this will cover a couple different models. So there's some of the more specifics I didn't cover. But that's your basic overview. If you have more questions, need specific information, as always, comment, let me know, and I'll be doing my best to answer.